show starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Hi all and welcome to another exciting update from the Blueprint teams. This is episode 17 now. It's certainly mounting up now. This is the Truth, Honour and Integrity show. My name's Thomas Williams. Enjoy the show. Right, this is the Blueprint episode 17 teams reports for the week ending March the 10th. The agenda. This week's agenda was heavily focused on the launch and workings of the new B. The New Blueprint for Humanity website. How it is functioning and what, if any, improvements need to be made now. As this was an internal soft launch a few weeks ago, there will always be a need to tweak, adjust and insert additions that may now at this point be needed. Allowing ourselves to be open enough to sit objectively and overview a project which is part of growth on an individual and also collective level. And while this is necessary, it's also important to keep the focus on why this was needed. And the aim for this site is to offer an alternative place for us to commune and grow the blueprint. A place with less distractions, less AI interference, and a chance to do things our way and become more of a working site with less chatting and more action being the intention behind it. Although some of us will miss the emojis though. But it's a place to come together and work together and learn to be more of ourselves and become more empowered and make a stronger connections with the other individuals that have put aside other life priorities to pay it forward. In essence, it's a safe harbour where we become the lighthouse for the blueprint. Now, other items on the agenda this week included aiding the new coordinator to settle into her role, and by supporting her in a timely fashion with reports, communications and any other things she may need during this time. Defining a new role takes time and consideration from all the teams to ensure we aid the process and also help her to flourish. It is an exciting phase that we have entered right now as we go more external. And this week we heard from the research team that they had contact from one of the recent people that received an email, which is another new connection made. And this is more proof that things are indeed speeding up now. We are being heard and seen now, and this brings a new set of questions and protocols into play. And this begs the question, are we ready? The tests will keep coming, but in the main, the groups show up, roll up their sleeves and do whatever it takes. There is strength in numbers, and we are a determined group of people that share a common goal to give humanity a chance for great change. First team report is the research team. And yet again, it's fairly extensive as to the work that's been done by research team and also the volunteers. But the research team had a good old-fashioned nuts and bolts work meeting and drilled down on items related to the current limitations of the database and to finalising our transition to the B Forum site. Now, discussions about the procedural timelines from influencer name selection to end result contact success with follow-up reporting was helpful for problem assessment and finding solutions. Growing the names list was a stimulating topic, as was web contact form data mining prevention for member cyber safety. Now, upcoming team member absences brought the discussion to backup planning, and team growth is essential to avoid overloading our few members and maintaining a project flow. The need for task descriptions to include time estimates and skills required will be a helpful tool for recruiting new volunteers. Defining areas of need will also help future planning. A member made a refreshing remark of ideally we will reach a point where influencers are coming to us instead of us looking for them, and that indeed will be the case. We revisited the subject of coordinating with the media team for Twitter. A specialised report was used for the names of the Twitter accounts, and one member already follows 1,805 influencers, and so gathering those names would greatly add to our successful contacts list, because he has already posted either a THI meme or the website link. And those additional names could then be given to some volunteers to search online to find websites, email addresses and any other contact information available for growing the database. Now, speaking of growing, it was our very busy Canadian member added another 285 Canadian politicians having received the PDF. And so our new strategy is to use those names along with some American and other country politicians for creating a bank of reports to have on hand in case we have to cancel a meeting. Now, it will ensure that the Blueprint Show episodes will not lack names to report. Also, the surplus Twitter account names can be sprinkled in to add diversity. Now, it was suggested that utilising Kevin's Senate and House Action Committees information will also help us add diversity to the US politicians by identifying their areas of special expertise. In the final areas of old business, firstly was the Zoom meeting calendar, having just been provided to the web team for analysis, and then our team lead will collaborate with them to get it up and running on the website when such a project can fit into their schedule. Secondly, we gave a shout out of thanks to the Canadian, French, Bulgarian and Portugal team members for their terrific country outreach efforts. In new business was the opportunity to meet and greet two members of the Blueprint Action Group, one the new coordinator and two the new Blueprint brochure creator. And they each gave us a better understanding of their special projects. And we were so glad to have such a welcome spice added at the conclusion of our meeting. As a special note to the show listeners, we invite you to join in the rewarding fun of online research. Please consider volunteering with our research team, where your detective skills creatively blossom like a bear in a waterfall trying to catch a salmon or a fox outwitting a rabbit. Yes, it is hard work, yet rewarding enough to go back for more. And you can find us as a subgroup of the Blueprint Action Group on the new B Forum. And so here are this week's 39 successful contacts with the Blueprint PDF and 15 interesting follow-ups sent by email from the website by the web team. Number 1, Michelle Rempel Garner, who is a Canadian politician who sits in the House of Commons as a Member of Parliament, a Conservative Party MP for Alberta. 2, Laura Baxter is a board member and secretary for the Australian Gold Coast Primary Health Network, which is an independent, not-for-profit and company and one of the 31 primary health networks established by the Australian government in July of 2015. 3. Joel Natalie has a 3-hour daily show on Talk Erie Radio in Erie, Pennsylvania. As a commentator for 35 years as a broadcast and communications veteran, Joel has been an on-air personality and manager in Top 40, Adult Contemporary and Christian Contemporary Radio. 4. Alex Thompson founded the UK Column News and Eastern Approaches programme. He reported about the 19 US Attorney General's letter to BlackRock, and Alex served as a Christian mission in the former Soviet Union and went on to spend the rest of his 20s as a GCHQ officer. He then moved to Holland in 2009 as a translator, interpreter and a researcher of networked evil. Now, since 2014, Alex has presented the Eastern Approaches brand, where his specialisms are Europe, geopolitics, religious affairs, and constitutional matters. Be nice if we can get a show with him or on his show. Maybe we can take some of our members with us. 5. Lieutenant Colonel P.C. Chambers of Misfits Media is a journalist, editor and consultant. As an independent Australian full-service creative agency, they deliver services for their clients across all facets of branding, marketing, events and advertising. And to quote their website, our team of brilliant minds and passionate souls work in partnership with our clients to achieve their marketing goals. Dr. Jinping Ji is a professor of industrial and systems engineering and the director of the Ideation Laboratory, iLab, and also a co-director of the Health Innovation Technology and Simulation HITS Lab at the University of Tennessee, Knoxville. And his research areas include complex systems modeling, simulation and optimization, with broad application in supply chain logistics, healthcare and also energy systems. 7. A familiar name, having been on a call with him, or around the call with him anyway. General Thomas McInerney. Chief concerns are with sustainable development, human rights, governance and rule of law. He is an international lawyer advancing creative legal and governance strategies and solutions to achieve a more just, peaceful and sustainable world. And he has led numerous innovative initiatives to improve international law and advance global development. 8. Dawn Echeverry is the Nevada State Education Association president. Their mantra is, when Nevada educators come together through union work, they are demonstrating their intent to create better public schools. And we all need that. Now, the group works to ensure high quality public education for every Nevada student. And NSEA and its community partners believe in opportunity for every student and in the power of public education to transform lives and create a more just and inclusive society. 9. Daniel A. Dominic, who retired in 2023 as the Executive Director of the National School Superintendent Association. 10. Bing Su is the Director of the Kunming Institution of Zoology at the Chinese Academy of Science. 11. Tianli Huang, who is a research fellow and the China Program Coordinator at the Peterson Institute for International Economics. And he joined the Institute as a research analyst in March 2019 and works with Anthony M. Solomon, Senior Fellow Nicholas R. Lardy on issues related to the Chinese economy. 12. Brad Wright is a writer for the Stargate SG-1 series, a military science fiction / actual fact adventure television series from 1997 to 2007. Now, emails also went to some doctors in specialised departments at various universities or states. But due to child-level forms of banning or blocking the details of people sent to PDF, has been removed and only the names and the region included. 1. Lynn Barter, Public Health Nurse, Minnesota. 2. Beth Bell, a Yale graduate, now clinical professor in the Department of Global Health in Washington, Seattle. 3. Oliver Brooks, Chief Medical Officer at Watts Healthcare in California. 4. Wilbur Chen is the Chief of the Adult Clinic Studies Section and teaches at the University of Maryland. 5. Sybil Cineas is the Clinical Associate Professor of Pediatrics and Medicine, Assistant Director, Longitudinal Integrated Clerkship, primarily in the Northeast of America. 6. Matthew F. Daly, a Senior Clinician Investigator at Kaiser Permanente at their Institute for Health Research, California. And 7. Camille Cotton is a Harvard infectious disease specialist, Massachusetts. 8. Jamie Lohr is the founder of the Cayuga Family Medicine in New York. Now, those that were contacted via their website contact forms by the research team leads were 1. Whitney Webb, who has been a professional writer, researcher and journalist since 2016. She has written for several websites and from 2017 to 2020 was a staff writer and senior investigative reporter for the Mint Press News. And she is contributing editor of Unlimited Hangout and the author of the book One Nation Under Blackmail. Yes, we found out about that in part 3, did we not, of the blueprint. Now, Unlimited Hangout prides itself on being uncensored investigative journalism. 2. John Mappin, founder of Camelot TV in Tyngadal, Cornwall, or Tyngadal. And his interview videos were circulating a lot during the 2023 period, and their motto is "Freedom is the Grail." 3. Eustace Mullins, who died in 2010, was the last living protege of Ezra Pound, the author of the only book burned in Germany since Hitler. And by the way, a burning under the direction of the Americans and a former researcher for Joseph McCarthy. He's known almost everyone on the American right for the last 50 years and is one of the most hated men in America in some circles. His best known work is The Secrets of the Federal Reserve, 1952, in which he alleged that several high-profile bankers had conspired to write the Federal Reserve Act for their own nefarious purposes and then induce Congress to enact it into law. He was a researcher at the Library of Congress in the 1950s and was writing books then about other things we at THI are still talking about today. 4. Newsmax, based in Boca Raton, Florida and New York City. is a privately held company headed by its CEO and majority shareholder Christopher Ruddy, and founded in 1998. Now, Newsmax media properties reach more than 40 million Americans regularly through the Newsmax channel, the Newsmax app, and its popular website newsmax.com, and publications like Newsmax magazine. More than 15 million fellow Newsmax on social media platforms like Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Truth Social. And through its media properties and platforms, Newsmax champions a free press, one that provides Americans with balanced coverage, diverse viewpoints, and honest debates on the issues affecting our lives. 5. Martin Noakes, the owner of Meaningful Music Company, and he makes conspiracy theory songs. For example, 9/11, the moon landing hoax, money does not exist, it is a theory, etc. 6. CBC, the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation, and CBC Radio Canada is the national public broadcaster and one of Canada's largest cultural institutions. It offers regionally and culturally diverse programming by and for and about Canadians. 7. The Globe and Mail. The paper's origin can be traced to a liberal newspaper, The Globe, that was founded in 1844 by a Scottish immigrant, George Brown, and then went on to The Mail and later The Mail and Empire, a conservative paper founded by John A. Macdonald in 1872, and it sees its role as independent but not neutral. 8. Shane Vibes is the creator of Connecting Consciousness. 9. Panache Desai teaches people how to stop simply surviving, but how to thrive and liberate their potential using meditation and other self-improvement techniques. And he reminds people that you are enough and helps them discover their purpose by going within. Now, we at THI strive to help our members understand how valuable you are as individuals and how vitally important each of you are to our wholeness and our collective purpose to change our world. 10. The CDC, the Center for Disease Control. 11. Virginie de Arago Recchia, founder of Verity France, an organisation that gathers information from victims of the medical issues and is part of a lawsuit to counteract those issues. 12. The Center for New Democratic Processes, based in St. Paul, Minnesota. The primary tool they employ for education and deliberation is the citizens' jury, and are continuously designing, testing and exploring new methods of high quality, inclusive public participation, deliberation and engagement. And they pioneered the use of citizens' juries in the United States and believe themselves to be the leading experts of their public participation method. 13. Sprinter Hybrid Rail in Southern California. East-West Sprinter Hybrid Rail spans 22 miles and connects Oceanside, Vista, San Marcos and Escondido, serving 15 stations along Highway 78 corridor. 14. Larry Alex Taunton is an American author, columnist and cultural commentator. His work has been covered by the BBC, the New York Times and many others. He authored The Grace Effect and is the executive director of Fixed Point Foundation in Birmingham, Alabama. 15. General Jack Keane is a retired 4-star US Army General Chief of Staff. He is currently a Fox News Senior Strategic Analysis, and he is chairman of the Institute for the Study of War. 16. Alex Newman, founder of the online Liberty Sentinel, with the motto of empowers you with the truth to stand against evil and stay free. 17. Matt Rosk, the outspoken founder of Cultivate Elevate, which gained prominence in the aftermath of the Lahaina fires in Hawaii. 18. Matt Kahn is a spiritual teacher whose clients and followers see a highly attuned, empathic healer, powerful speaker and captivating author. With 22 plus million YouTube channel views, followers are finding relief from the challenges of daily life through his heart-centered messages. Now, to we THI members, this sings like an advertisement or promotion of his site, but it isn't. We simply like to have our listeners get the full picture of the sphere and scope of the influence of those we are sending the PDF to. Our outreach is broadly focused. And 19, Brian Rose of LondonReal.tv, who gained a following in the crypto market. He has had over 1,000 long format interviews with those he considers the most important voices in the world, and his website says we empower people to think, to act and to change, and they are an unbiased source of information in a co-opted world. As a new regular feature of our reports, we will be sharing any responses we receive, and we maintain the highest of hope that some of the influencers will email us back asking for more information, or that the web team will announce the Saying Hi feedback contact form on the Blueprint website is jam-packed with responses. But until that dream comes true, we are glad to report that at least we have received after-the-fact email acknowledgements and or been subscribed to their newsletter emailing list, meaning that their internal system will recognise us as a friendly and not enemies. So these are some of the ones that have replied. Quora Digest, Thomson Reuters, JP Sears, Adam Andrzejewski, US Farmers and Ranchers, the Globe and Mail, the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation, Democracy Now!, Refined, Asian Archaeology, South Asia Archaeology, Professor Wolf at Democracy at Work, and from the Twitter world came a welcome by Izar Favor to our post of the website link, and he describes himself as a life coach and speaker. Now we have great news that Cultivate Elevate's customer support rep emailed a response of, "Hi there, thanks for reaching out. I appreciate you sharing the info. I will forward this to Matt to review. Thanks for sharing." But the best news was Alex Newman, founder of the Liberty Sentinel, sent us a direct question by return email that indicates to us that he perused the book. And he wrote, "What are the references to Universal Council and Universal Higher Man?" And our reply was, the Universal Council is a galactic group of humans and non-humans working personally and collectively towards evolution, spiritual development and a harmonious planet in accordance with universal, organic, divine law. Sovereignty, equality, freedom, cooperation, care and sharing, harming none and loving others are some of the concepts of the law that universal humans and the council share. We also remain heart-centered, where we hear the universal truth most clearly. There is a lot more to this, as the relationship between humans and non-humans goes way back. If you have any further questions, please do reach out. We love sharing this information to those who are interested. May your day be bright and blissful. And we can let you know that Alex responded within minutes, asking more questions, to which we also replied promptly. And we shared this first question because it is the first we of the research team have received from anyone, and it seemed important to mark the first fruit of our seed planting. Now, we will be respecting the privacy of his further correspondence with us until we get his permission to share our exchanges with the group. We will let you know if he ever mentions us in his news format, and we will have more to report in the next Blueprint episode. All great stuff. And now we're getting more traction. And all it required was just a little bit of this. Patience, it seems, not just the deficiency in Americans. I've noticed on the trips over to Europe, they don't have much patience either. I don't know what the problem is really. Why people don't have patience to have patience. Seems fairly easy to me, but there you go. The next section of the Blueprint report is an announcement of a handout for humanity. The Blueprint Action Group has launched the Handout for Humanity brochure, and you will have recently noticed the MeWe posts that are promoting it. Now, this is a brochure that you can download, print and then share. And the purpose of the handout is to help promote the new Blueprint for Humanity website. And the handout gives a brief overview of the Blueprint and can help direct new people to our Blueprint website. Now, there are many opportunities during your day to conveniently leave behind a handout for someone to find, and a little creativity can go a long way. And we're asking you all to consider participating in a manner that you are comfortable with to help spread the word at this critical time. And so you can look for the handout posts in MeWe, and it is posted on the new site b.thenewblueprintforhumanity.org, where you will find the PDF for the download. Now, a Dutch member requested a translated version, and that one was created also. Now, that member in Holland will be attending a literary event that is expected to draw 600 participants, and is taking upon herself to provide and make available handouts at this event. So if you have any questions or comments, please message David Adams on MeWe or the B forum, which is b.thenewblueprintforhumanity.org site. The youth team report is next. In late February, early March, the youth team had 3 consecutive weekly meetings to focus on getting the You Think Different website ready for a March 3rd soft launch. And work continued to complete the intro videos for each section, links to the relevant Blueprint solutions, and add additional links and documents providing deeper information and context. Now, one youth-generated document and a video have also been uploaded to the Tell a Story section, or television. And work is still ongoing to create the intro video for gender, which will not be ready for the soft launch, but soon after. Wonderful graphics and ideas for the Tell Your Vision section were presented as well, as ongoing collaboration on verbiage that is inviting, engaging and inspiring to youth to tell their stories and share their visions using any format they'd like. And this includes blogs, videos, artwork, music, and the options are limitless and pretty much whatever the person is inspired to utilise. Now, due to all the hard work mentioned, we were able to soft launch youthink.world to the THI audience on March 5th. And one member has already shared with his daughters, aged 22 and 25, and the feedback has been very positive. They love the colour, pictures, music and videos, and said the topics are relevant and that we are asking good questions and it made them think. And one of their boyfriends said this: the site is very cool, the tell a story tab is that person's favourite. It functions well, it's a cool transition and truly clear and crisp that grabs the attention and also allows interaction. The homepage, I would probably change the vision statement in the italicized writing to a normal, more legible font. Other than that, it's very cool and well done, and the topics in themselves are interesting. He also said, I think if the videos had someone speaking to the points or telling a story, it would be a lot more impactful. It's easy to get disengaged when it's words and background music across a screen. The tell a story video, like the one that Guy posted, is easier to digest and get connected to the content. Like the website layout though, and the topics are very important, which is fantastic feedback from a young man of 25, right in the demographic that we are targeting. And we are inviting everyone in THI to explore the youthink.world website. Now, the invitation, hope and encouragement is that the website will eventually be user-driven, meaning primarily managed by the youth. And we have some awesome opening videos to be viewed: law and consent, housing and job security, permaculture and food sustainability, gender confusion coming soon, race and climate change. Now, some content we have included to date was a candid article entitled Top Canadian Doctors Revealing the Real Truth and Horrors of Sex Change Surgeries, to be linked under the heading Real Truths About Sex Change Surgeries. A link to the War on Children documentary, which is a must watch. Two fantastic presentations generated by two youths titled Jack's Story and Why I Never Feel Good Enough is an absolute must listen for us all. Articles about the positive effects of increased CO2 and the greening of the planet, the lie about plastic recycling, and an article exposing false temperature data used to drive the current narrative. A number of Ucadia law documents was also installed for deeper study. And please feel invited to explore the website and tell us about any refinements you'd recommend. A big shout out for the You Think Different team. You know who you are. A diverse group on 3 continents who have somehow managed to work together to produce a strong foundation with which to grow from. The gardening team update of February 2024, and this piece was written by one of the garden group members, and it is an excellent summary of the issues we have been discussing. Gardening, the solution to humanity's existential threat. Our world is on a trajectory that has the potential to cripple society. There are many potential solutions, but gardening is, in my opinion, the most elegant, efficient and effective one. Problems. Since the turn of the century, when industrialisation began, the collective has been drawn into a problem of food production. Before this time, the power was in the hands of the people, for the majority were producing food, and the excess was used to feed those not on the farm. Trading grain for sugar or nails was a common practice. But with industrialisation, the farmers moved to the towns and worked in factories to make machines that would work on the farms to grow the food. The farmer became reliant on the system of industry for his livelihood, and farmers have been trapped in this loop since then. Now, as a society, they have moved off the farms and into the towns and cities, and that has weakened us in so many ways. We are now weightier than ever before, we are now lazier than ever before, and we are now crazier than ever before. Agreed. The lunatic asylum piece revealed that in stark clarity. In the last 50 years, obesity has tripled, chronic diseases have increased 800%, and mental illness has increased 1,000%. But the good news is we are living longer and longer, and life expectancy has increased for adults from approximately 67 to 77. But who wants to live 10 more years only to have those years be in disease? And so here are their thoughts to the real problems we face as a society. 1. Our foods have become more and more processed, refined and artificial, and the human body cannot thrive with this. It is as if we are burning kerosene or wood gas in our high-octane cars. The food we eat directly affects our health, and the build-up of toxins take their toll over a lifetime. 2. We are no longer physically active. The human body is incredibly efficient and will adapt to the amount of effort needed. If you are sedentary, the body will minimize the muscle production, for example. 3. We have informational toxicity. The amount of mindless, insignificant, worthless information that people experience today is simply staggering. People no longer react to strange or unusual behaviours or news. And so the system has to take this to the highest degree. The news and media companies are dying for attention, and so the only thing left for them to do is to ratchet up the fear, the mayhem, the death and the rage. All of this enters the minds of society, and this is simply too much for us to handle. It is stressful, and we cannot handle the stress anymore, and so it adds to the chronic illness. Solutions. 1. To fix the food issues, everyone needs to have a garden as big as possible. Eating fresh fruits from the garden is the complete and polar opposite of what is happening today. Fresh foods are alive. They have living symbiotic bacteria. They have enzymes, and they are full of structured water, some would argue. They are what our bodies are expecting to use as fuel. And by having access to fresh gardens, foods, detoxification can begin, and then after that, rebuilding. Finally, restructuring and thriving can be achieved. 2. To fix the sedentary issues, everyone should have a garden. It takes physical work to garden. Lifting, pulling, walking, carrying and more activities will put a load on the body. Then it will adapt, and muscles, ligaments, tendons and the circulatory system, etc. will then improve. 3. To fix the mental health issues, people need to garden. Being in nature, feeling the living soil, the grasses, the plants, hearing birds, bees and wildlife is very soothing to the mind and soul. In addition, you cannot garden effectively with a phone in your hand. You no longer need extraneous mind candy. You can simply be and live. If you have problems, you talk to the other gardeners, your plants, and to yourself, and the answers will come. In the end, the trajectory of human devolution has an easy solution: gardening. The big question that remains is, will enough people catch this gardening virus and spread it, or will we collectively end up in a matrix cell of our own creation? As Thomas says, time will tell. The European Blueprint team is next, and that has been set up as a subgroup of the new Blueprint for Humanity Action Group. Participants and EU members are invited to join, and we are preparing for the next meeting where we will talk about the EU military and NATO solution. Members of Europe, Canada and North America have been working on this joint effort. The law team is next, and on March 3rd it saw the return of the Intro to Law series, Part 1, The Fundamentals. 2 hours morphed into a 4.5 hour marathon with a highly engaged group. And it was fascinating to see the deeper realizations and the light bulb moments from those who attended the previous intro series. And it is proof that each time we approach this material, deeper insights are unlocked. This is an inch-wide, mile-deep lake of knowledge. And for the new members, this was a journey that opened their minds as we unravelled false history, false etymology, and connected the dots to the Vedas and Rita law. Now, in the Santis, Purun warns about the aliens that use deceit, ruse, and unrighteous lie to obtain the trust of people, and how they pervert pure souls, school them in mean deeds, lust, and vicious madness. How they accumulate material wealth, lead kins to destruction, take away riches and income from good people, and cloud the human mind, using the power of deception that take away from people's support, faith, purpose in life, and freedom of spirit. They consider wealth to be their righteous support and leave poor humans like dead in the wilderness. Truth is oppressed, and when the truth is oppressed, happiness dies, and when happiness dies, human dies. People with weak spirit lose their minds and fall under the authority of the aliens, carrying their banners of lies, vices, laziness, desire for another's, and lust, cruelty, fear, and lack of self-confidence before them. Aliens covet everything they do not possess. Their thoughts are about power above all works, about capturing property and creation of light worlds. Now, that previous paragraph, written 40,000 years ago, accurately describes the bar guild legal system today. A system that declares us all dead at birth, claims our property, natural rights, and gives them back as privileges or liberties, whilst binding us to a lifetime of debt payment, harvesting our energy to enrich themselves, clouding our minds with fake history, fake language, fake etymology, and complex systems of corporate codes and regulations, using media, education, banking systems, and government. Meant meaning to manage the minds of the slaves with a mind-influenced system of false concepts such as implied consent. They influence our minds so they can claim suffering in their system is our free will choice to justify their insanity and avoid their karmic debt. Ruling through force and fraud, they declare we have no mind, as we demonstrate incompetence because we have bought into their lies. And we are to blame as we are too stupid to learn and fall under their powers of guardianship and custodianship. As they claim ownership of and manage our minds for us, we are declared infants or animals and fall under their illegitimate authority. And Perun declares that awakening of human occurs only in cognition, and eye of cognition saves him or her. And as we look to the Vedas again, aspiration for spiritual life becomes duty, head of all deeds becomes conscience, conscience becomes strong, human creates happiness, and in happiness human creates him or herself. Tranquil people are skillful in their deeds, do not imagine anything unlawful, do not act sinfully, do not act dishonourably or unreasonably. And they put duty before kin, which is service to others. And humans become pure with spirit soul, and yet let pure conscience be the measure of deeds. And the way forward is through selfless devotions to duty in life and bloodless sacrifice, through which a knowledgeable person achieves purity and self-illuminated knowledge of the Vedas. It is by cultivating the virtues of truthfulness, restraint, selfless devotion, self-denial, modesty, the P word, yes, patience again, firmness, absence of envy, continuation of kin, bloodless sacrifice, mercy and attentiveness. And self-development comes from the 8 qualities of righteousness, ability to think over, ability of self-enrichment, ability in vestige to determine the truth, dispassionateness, honesty, chastity and composure. And it comes from being truthful with your soul and spirit, for the gate to the golden path lies in truth. But self-development also comes through restraint in action, inaction and purposefulness, and the eradication of the following: injustice, blame, false pride, brutish desire, unrighteous anger, despondency, greed, envy, malevolence, irritations, anxiety, forgetfulness, verbosity, and conceit. And this is where the dots connect. Rita law runs through Eucadia and the true rule of law in continuous flow from the divine creator of all. And studying the Eucadian material is more about investigating the truth, connecting with our divine eternal soul spirit, seeing through the lies and injustice perpetrated on us and standing strong. Acting honourably, becoming tranquil on a foundation of truth, letting our conscience be our measure and guide, reclaiming our natural rights, becoming skilled in our actions and deeds, and treating all as equals under the law. Now, some people say that it's hard work to study the law material we have access to, and I agree, it is hard work. However, nothing good comes from the easy path. The journey is the destination, and it is a rocky path. It makes us uncomfortable. It challenges us to look deep within and to change if we don't like what we see. And growth is inherently uncomfortable, and if we are not uncomfortable, we are not growing. We all have free will. And we have been given a tremendous gift with the Vedas and Eucadia, and we have the free will to roll up our sleeves, take self-responsibility, learn, change, develop and teach others along the way, or we can continue with our lives as is. There is no judgment here. It is what it is, and we each have a choice. If we are to be the guardians, if we are to be the blueprint, we each must decide what that means for us as individuals and act accordingly. The gate to the golden path is open for us all, for we are the gate. Asking ourselves, what will I do next, is the only question that matters. Overview. What an amazing few weeks it has been for the Blueprint teams lately. The hard evidence cannot be denied anymore. We are being seen and heard now outside of THI, and that brings us with it a sense of excitement, but also a sense of urgency within the teams and self-reflections on the bigger question, are we ready? A year ago, the process began to undertake launching the Blueprint into the mainstream arena of the general public. It seemed to be a daunting task, and maybe despite the business and activity of the groups at the time, the doubts were there. Maybe it felt a bit like the impossible dream in a way, too big, too important for unimportant people to take on, and maybe it felt too hot to handle. But nonetheless, a small group of us showed up, and we set sail into uncharted waters. The teams emerged, the oarsmen if you like, learning to set a pace while a captain steered the course, and we began the journey of the new unknown. We had no timeline, no date and no final landing place. But what we did have was the certainty and the courage of one person. And so we handed over our trust in this process and set sail into the great journey of discovery and recovery. We learn that sometimes it can be hard to navigate in someone else's waters. It can feel uncomfortable and bring up our own uncertainties that lay lurking within. The shoreline always feels a little out of sight. The destination not yet seen, and we may have even been impatient, well I never, with the process, or the reverse, we felt like we had plenty of time to get there. And while we began to launch full steam ahead and jostle for position as we figured it all out, we began to discover that we, and we alone, had to define what our true purpose and position would or could be within this ship. At first glimpse at the defining moments of realization in our own self-awareness journey. For if you have never picked up an oar, how do you know that you have the right type of stroke and skill that will break the water correctly and steer us home? How do you know your rhythm will be in sync or be strong enough and adept enough to help the team? You can't unless you learn to trust the process and trust yourself. Now, on the other hand, if you try to fight to control it, believing that your rhythm is better than the power of the fellow oarsman, you will only begin to create ripples. And these then form a current that threatens to steer you off target, taking you away from the shoreline you desperately want to land on, and instead of helping you, the desire to control becomes the distraction and hampers the flow. You may temporarily revert back to old ways, forgetting that they never served you well in the past. And while you were busy believing all you had to do was reach the shore, you forgot you had more skills to develop and improve upon. And then out of the blue someone shouts, "Land ahoy!" And suddenly the dream begins to become the reality. A sense of relief and excitement emerge. But in the excitement, someone drops their oar. It slows everyone down, and the distraction seems to create a distance from the beachhead. The group of doubters that began the journey is now replaced with calm, self-assured oarsmen, which are more certain, and deftly hands quickly reach out and take the helm. And the team have to rally to find a new style, a better rhythm, and a more powerful stroke to balance the deficit, swiftly finding their own solutions and self-correcting. The true change is showing up now. But maybe, just maybe, the distraction came to show you your real progress, the growth you've embraced on the voyage, the inner work you have done. For you had to learn not only to trust the captain, but yourself. You gained a new skill, or maybe many of them, all while the illusion of being part of someone else's dream is replaced by the inner knowing that you are the dream. The misplaced trust, the doubts are all evaporating, and a stronger new you and team will take a new leap of faith onto the land, the next part of this great journey. But all of life's journeys come with uncertainty, challenges and wobbles. They also bring excitement and a sense of purpose. You are taking part in this story, our story, your story, and it may become the greatest story ever told. A great service to humanity and to yourself, a chance to pay all the teachings forward, a chance to be service to others while helping the self. And we must remember that you cannot take part in the great chance for change without becoming the change. And the only question you ever need to ask yourself in each part of this journey is, are you ready? What happens next? You decide. The legendary David Coverdale. You will find that you're the key if you control your destiny. Perfectly fitting with those last two pieces. Now normally we only have one section left of the show, but tonight we have three. So this first section is a couple of weeks ago I sent out another 10 books that was omitted from the last update. And these are the 10 who I sent them out to. Julie Pace, Associated Press. Robert Doherty, Thomson Reuters, aka CIA. Stacia Phillips Deshishku, Disney ABC. Sarah Smith, BBC America. Bill Onus, CBS. Wendy Brundage, CNN. Porter Berry, Fox News. Matt Schnars, MSNBC. Tom Namako, NBC, who according to earlier reports are the central hub for all news items, and Danielle C. Belton of the Huffington Post. Now, a further 8 books went out in the last week or so. Nick Dunn, CNBC. Amy Goodman, Democracy Now! Amjad Atala, Al Jazeera. Randall Lane, Forbes Media. Joe Kahn, The New York Times. Tom Amos, The Economist Group, Christopher Dolan, Washington Times, and Daniel Evangeski, Zero Hedge. And this now puts the media within our circle of influence as well now, and we will see what it produces. And this is the cover letter that was sent to all the 18 recipients. We are entering an extraordinary time this year, and much will change. We are writing to you to have a look at our document with the hope it brings a sea of change within you and your organisation. For years now, the media have lied, steered wrong opinion and mind-controlled programming against the people, and this is coming to an end. I myself know there are many of you within these organisations that have been put under pressure by forces in the background, leveraged and blackmailed to doing the dirty work of those who operate within the shadows. Those shadows are all coming into the light now, and a vast beacon of truth is unfolding planetary-wide. All the people will get to see what is really going on this planet, and it's going to get very ugly. Here in America will be the harshest of backlashes when they find out all the institutions they trusted were never for their benefit. All of them. I have observed the plummeting audiences across all media within the past 5 years in particular. At what point are your platforms going to realise you are no longer sustainable? Less listeners, less advertisements equals no platform. How long can you sustain that? The people are moving away from your habitual lies and storytelling facilitated by the agencies. How long can you prop up their failing system? At which point will you realise we are all no different on a base and humanity level? At which point will you fear for your lives when an angry baying public reaches the threshold of understanding the media lied to us all the time? What happens next? We wish to head off that anger and provide the people with something that brings hope to them. Hope to you all that are trapped in the media circus, operating like puppets on a string. The old world, as I call it, is finished, because that was not sustainable either. The old world is going down on every level of society, and a new one must be built based on truth, transparency, fairness, sharing, caring, and totally for and by the people. Every single facet of society has to be 180'd and started again, including the people themselves who have badly lost their way. We have to teach the world a new way, and the media can be a leading component of that. But all the old ways, systems and programs have to be ripped up and replaced with something better. The media of the future we envision will be all about the people telling their story, not his story. It will be based upon truth, facts, and the spirit of enlightenment and growth. A rewriting of the story of the people on this planet, not the lies, distortions, overlays, and half-truths we have been fed. We envision a global teaching course for all people, because we have to change all aspects of society and people onto a better path than what has gone before. We all failed each other, all neglected their personal responsibility, and all sat on their hands and watched this planet descend into the pit. The media can and will play a massive role in those changes of providing shows, news and documentaries in part based on our failed path, supplemented with the changes to come and how all people should and can be involved. There will be no hierarchies in this model, no stars and celebrities which are all fake. All levels must be equal, all operating as a community and all operating in a cooperative way. There are no leaders within this system, all are leaders. All with an equal opinion, ideas and thoughts, as no longer can we rely on the so-called experts of whatever field, as they have all been found wanting. The evidence is all around you now. Fear reigns everywhere. Nothing is working anymore, and it won't do again. Why? Because it's the people's time to rise and steer this planet onto a better path, where we all develop onto greater heights, not drag each other into the gutter. None of our group are so-called professionals. There are no such things, as all have been denied the truth and or the tools to operate properly. We are just ordinary people who decided enough is enough and became the change within themselves and then charted the path for a better future for us all. Our members have heard the real story on all topics, and whilst many will blame the cabal, Illuminati, secret societies and various other hidden hand and shadow entities, our members found out who the real problem was. Us. A hard pill to swallow, but they did, and the future media needs to expand upon that, and all people must take responsibility. A lack of responsibility, a lack of truth, a lack of personal introspection is what has led us all into this cesspit of a planet. The truth is, and must prevail, true rule of law, whether it be golden rule or Rita law, an ancient law of the past that our members have studied and starting to implement. All of which is on our website, the new blueprint for humanity.org. This document will be sent to many important places and people over the coming months, all funded by myself and our members' donations. We are asking you to read it closely and then make contact with us to arrange meetings and or a show as to how we can take this forward. Thank you for your time and hope you are able to accommodate us, the Guardians. Remember, we are all guardians of this planet. It is our responsibility and duty. This is the perfect song for the media people. Your reign is coming to a close, and what actions you take now determines your future and path. This next piece is a short piece. It's big boy and girl pants time again. Reality, not illusion, and about people getting real with what is taking place currently. And I will echo the last two pieces in the blueprint report, the law update and the overview piece, and reiterate your responsibility to yourself, life and the will to change things for the better here. The Vedas should reside within you all. It's not an external concept, but an internal one that all must embrace. And the ship being steered off course by people not wanting to contribute, or those contributing putting themselves before others, projecting their shadows upon others and playing alpha games, only serves the dark forces and the control system. We don't have to all love or like each other. But remember, not liking another person means you don't like a portion of yourself. That's how it works. And so the other person that annoys or frustrates you is actually you and your own unaddressed shadows or inner works. And things are at an interesting stage now, and we must rally each other about the work we have ahead, not focus on our own failures to deal with issues or other people. Unity has to apply for true success, and an inner determination to face your own personal issues and not project onto others or drag other people into the equation to justify your stance or position. There are too many times when I feel I am not only the captain of the ship, but the ballast, the oarsman, the sail, and the ship itself. Is that being fair, spiritual, considerate, loving, or supportive? You tell me. And the need is to stop thinking in public of just yourselves. Deal with that in private and focus on the enormity of the all. And that enormity and realisation is unfolding now on an unprecedented scale. But if you are struggling, you have to work with yourself on things. Then ask for help from others, but not using others as your dumping ground for your issues. If you seek help, learn to listen and then act upon the help and the support given to you, not turn against it and repeat your looping patterns of misery and sadness. It serves no one, least of all yourself. But the ripple in the pond has gotten bigger each blueprint episode, and that should be the true focus. Because despite being the most maligned group, despite myself having been blocked, maligned, denigrated and cast aside, I and we still kept going, and that is the lesson for us all. Remember the words for the year: endeavour and perseverance. Embrace them and you cannot go wrong. I'm reminded of the poem If you can trust yourself when all men doubt you, but make allowances for their doubting too. Or being lied about, don't deal in lies. Or being hated, don't give way to hating. And if you can keep your head when all about you are losing theirs, and blame it on you. These are the key factors now. But wanting or seeking just important positions is ego. The work is the important matter, nothing more and nothing less. I mentioned the word for 2024 about the precipice. And dependent on your own outlook in life, precipice, like many things, has two meanings. If you live in fear, it means you're about to drop off a cliff, and many will, unless immediate self-correction unfolds. But if you live in love, then you are standing at the threshold of greatness, achievement, progress, advancement, and onto a new stage in uncharted waters, providing you have done the work. Otherwise, you stand at the edge of the cliff, not knowing what to do next. Do you plummet or fly? And all of which means the old ways and failures of the past are now what is in the distance, not the shoreline. Do you see the difference yet? You've all been given the tools to be successful within and without yourself, yet I still see the same or similar issues cropping up at all too regular intervals. And that is a dereliction of duty to yourself, to me who has helped you all in varying degrees, and to the role as a guardian of this planet. At which point would the penny drop within you and you truly begin to understand what is playing out here and now on this planet. It is a joyous occasion, despite the much harder work still to come. But too many revel in their own misery, sadness and unhappiness and have become addicted to it. Please learn to flip it 180 and become joy, contentment, assured and happy. It's not that hard to do if you apply yourself. Those hiding in the background, focusing on drama, step away from it and embrace a new you. You will not be judged by me or other members. As the sands of time ticks away and your life review becomes imminent, how will you view you? Happiness within the providence of sorrow, or the joy of achievement of being a part of something much greater than yourself. These are extraordinary times for us all. Don't spoil it or ignore it due to old programs and patterns. It's time to rejoice of coming this far and gear up for the next level. Right. What have I told you? There is another level of Sigma not yet explored too deeply in the masculine or feminine pieces. What? I have to learn even more? Yes, you do. Why? Because life is all about learning. This lifetime and the many subsequent future lifetimes. You can never stop learning in terms of yourself and your development, or in observation mode of seeing where others do right or wrong. It is the never-ending story in essence. So if you are short of learning, why don't you start right now and quit being a restaurant waiter? The masculine and feminine in general viewing can be seen as a duality, but in overview it is so much more. And this brings in the one-on-one with the one. And we both have a portion of each other's characteristics, although due to much interference via technology, luciferic agendas, our contact deceptions, programming, and our own propensity to not help ourselves, we have drastically deviated away from those archetypes. And the work done here is to restore the divine aspect of those characteristics. But to achieve that, we must define them and then return to the platform of our own kind or gender. Only then can the true divinity be restored, although frequencies that will remind you of it from the past are spiraling around the planet as we speak. Fix you and embrace them. And the key is to clear yourself and integrate those frequencies and then set it as your new baseline. But apart from the one-on-one with the one and your own personal connection to source, there is another triality aspect of the man and woman. We too often forget the soul aspect and focus on the external physical aspects of our skin suits here. But the soul itself is neither male or female and is androgynous. And much has been done via woke programs to distort the field on that with the transgender program. But as it plays out, we realise we haven't really defined man and woman too well in terms of the roles they play in life as per the Santis. Then how can people even begin to define the transgender issue? You can't, and neither can they. Now, one of the main problems on this planet for many thousands of years is the lack of producing gods and goddesses for the future. This planet's production line has ground to a halt, and the few that did leave through the stargates mainly did so for their own personal benefits rather than for the benefit of the all. And due to the linear flatline of time and people, that supply line has been very slim and almost to none for far too long. We must develop people beyond astral harvesting level planes and onto the mental planes and beyond. And this then increases the supply line of teachers coming here to help the all ascend to greater heights. Now, to my understanding, there is a great reluctance for souls to come in here and try to help us all, because the treatments they get not only from the dark forces, but the very people themselves they came to help. Now, whilst I believe that the Jesus story makes no sense, and there is little to no evidence he ever existed by that name anyway, one could look at the narrative in overview and the picture it presents is not a good one. Said to be the Son of God. Okay, fine. Then where were all the religious people protecting him from the Jews and Romans? Why was there no riots at his alleged crucifixion? No people uprising or stopping his torturous death? Because if there was no reaction to the Jews and Romans killing the alleged Son of God, what does that say about the people? And where was God in all of this? Why would God allow them to sacrifice his only son in classic Jewish and dark forces ritual fashion? And remember, the famous Jewish names of the past killed their firstborn. And why would the same God then decide to award the very people who killed his son the status of the chosen ones? Does that make any sense whatsoever? And that is without mentioning Radomir and Mary Magdalene that were here 1,000 years after the so-called Christ, or Anna, Nikolai or Svetlana, all of whom were slain in pursuit of helping the people, yet none of the people around them supported them enough, did they? And this planet needs an overhaul of how we operate on a spiritual level, because it has all gone so badly wrong. And to produce divine masculine and feminine, and also gods and goddesses, more people have to become the Sigma version than Alpha and Beta. Now, we can delude ourselves with all Sigmas. The reality is we are just not. And one of my personal disappointments despite being taught all the better and deeper ways, long before we did all the recent Santi's pieces, is the lack of higher spiritual development in the group. And that is not to say some of you haven't developed that side, but nowhere near enough of you have, or not too many of you have developed the skill sets that comes with the mental planes. Now, I take no responsibility for that, as I know I have given you all everything, but I cannot drag anyone onto planes or development. Only you can do that. And having the knowledge is one thing, but what you do with it by actions is what really counts. And this then brings back in as to the reasons why we haven't seen the true gods and goddesses return too much in over 40,000 years. We have not done enough ourselves, and they are tired of us all acting and behaving like children and badly towards each other. We covered a poem some time back, and perhaps in light of the Sigma male piece, another look at it is required. And most of this also applies to the Sigma female as well. The poem is called If by Rudyard Kipling. I think he made cakes later in life. And I would call it the pathway to self-mastery with a THI twist. And so I'm going to read out the poem and explain each line. If you can keep your head when all about you are losing theirs and blaming it on you, that means they are out of balance and you must retain yours. If you can trust yourself when all men doubt you, but make allowance for their doubting too. This plays into inner trust and knowing. If you know thyself, their doubting does not apply in most cases. And in true self-mastery, it matters not what others think, say, or doubt of you. If you can wait and not be tired by waiting. It's the P word again. No one bar me seems to like. Patience applies here, and when dealing with people who have none, it requires operating in patience in absolute bucket loads. Or being lied about, but don't deal in lies. And this plays into not wasting your energy, proving your truth or position. It is a pointless task, and it devolves into circular arguments and people doubling down and being stubborn. Why waste your energy in those scenarios? Or being hated, don't give way to hating. But if you know yourself and how energy and vibration works, hating to or from is another waste of your time and energy. And it also substantially lowers your vibration. And yet don't look too good nor talk too wise. Well, not looking too good when external in terms of clothing and appearances does not serve you well in alpha settings. But what you choose to wear and feel comfortable in, regardless of others' opinions, is what matters. Not talk too wise, I do not agree with. This world lacks wisdom of the highest order, and so the few that speak it need to shout it from the rooftops to drown out the noise of those sadly lacking any of it. And the same applies to the few with common sense. If you can dream and not make dreams your master, it means you have the ability to control your dreams, and so you master it and your own reality. If you can think and not make thoughts your aim, I'm not agreeing with this also, as too many have to learn to think again on this planet, and so your thinking and control of your thoughts has to be your aim. If you can meet with triumph and disaster and treat those two imposters just the same. This is about 45-55 and staying in balance, as most people swing from one side to another and so they end up out of sync. The 5% correction is much easier to manage, and so you retain the balance portion of yourself. If you can bear to hear the truth you've spoken, twisted by knaves to make a trap for fools, speak your truth. Approval or rejection of it should never be a factor. Or watch the things you gave your life to broken and stoop and build them up with worn out tools. They are just mere things in life. The important thing is to keep going regardless. If you can bake one heap of all your winnings and risk it on one turn of pitch and toss. Sometimes what you think you lose is not as important further down the line or path. Everything is reason and season, and it is what you gain from it rather than focusing on what you lost from it. And lose and start again at your beginnings and never breathe a word about your loss. Again, it is about what is your focus, whether it's the future or the past, or whether being open to the possibility of gain. If you can force your heart, nerve and sinew to serve your turn long after they are gone. Everyone gets a turn at something. It's all about then applying everything you have into it. And that also applies to our gods and the Santis, long after they are gone. And so hold on when there is nothing in you except the will, which says to them, hold on. But if you can hold on despite the onslaught, you are retaining the essence of you, and your determination becomes the source of encouragement to others. If you can talk with crowds and keep your virtue, to do that you must talk to people all on the same level. Never talk at people, as it means A, you are thinking you are better than them and acting alpha, or B, out of control and balance. Or walk with kings, nor lose the common touch. Quitting the hierarchy is a valid way to address this. We all have the capability to be kings and queens with a common touch. Not the royal kings and queens, but true monarchs. If neither foes nor loving friends can hurt you, that is the self-mastery right there. And yes, they can hurt or upset you a bit, as long as it is in the 45-55 range. If all men count with you, but none too much, that is about avoiding becoming a saviour program. If you can fill the unforgiving minute with 60 seconds worth of a distance run, then you've applied yourself to the task. The distance is irrelevant, only the journey. Yours is the earth and everything that's in it. Yes, as it belongs to everyone to enjoy, sustain and embrace. And which is more, you'll be a man, my son. No longer a boy or a girl, but you have risen with your better actions and ways into a man or a woman. Too many adults, no matter their age, operate like they are still at boys or girl levels. We must create more men and women who are more adult thinking and operating people. The Sigma pieces sparked much debate, and some claiming to be operating within the Sigma range. And I think many of our members have traits in the lower end of the Sigma spectrum, but still dance heavily in the Alpha-Beta models more easily. The differences and references were marked enough for people to grasp just where they are at on their own journey. But convincing others you are higher than you are at this point is a pointless exercise, as A, people can see for themselves, and B, people doing that are denying to themselves only an opportunity to grow. Convincing yourselves you are further down the line does not allow for the growth expansion required to obtain the next or subsequent levels. And in general life, there is the example of fake it until you make it. But in spiritual development levels, that is not really helpful or a useful pursuit to take. It is what it is, and you are what you are. Faking your level is dancing in the alpha-beta levels. Remember, the alphas are all about acting and fake personas. And if people think of you as a Sigma, that is fine. But one must inner know to truly embrace it. And you telling people that you are Sigma is an alpha-beta trait, and so subsequently not the truth. But people do love their labels, and the Sigma pieces are for personal references as to how far down the path you have danced and how far you have yet to go. Sigma is not about the label. It is about being and operating in a much better way. Now, most of those two pieces focused on the Alpha, Beta, Sigma models based in work-based settings, with some touching upon relationship settings, albeit minimal. Another thing it never covered, because mainstream pieces and knowledge leaves vast gaps in all narrative, is the heart. The heart-centered Sigmas, not the mindset, is the higher versions of the Sigma not covered in the first two sections. And once you've achieved control of the mind, the next stage is the heart center levels. And this is where two major things can eventually kick in next on an even higher developmental stage. The creation of the divine masculine and feminine, all whilst trying to attain God and Goddess level on a soul development level. The latter is achieved by surviving the astral and going through the four mental planes. And like I mentioned earlier, to generate more operating on the divine level, we must teach and train people onto a much better and higher path than the general order. And this requires people to be like the traits mentioned in our Divine Masculine and Feminine booklet, and also the Santis. Neither the Divine Masculine or Feminine are titles, only true ways to be and operate for higher evolved beings. And part of the problem is people have forgotten and are struggling with their own self-identity, and so look for external titles for approval of themselves, which resides in the alpha roles, and on a lesser basis, the beta roles. But if you cannot self-identify yourself here and now, how can you expect to evolve into a higher being? You can't, as no matter how many labels and titles people collect for their egos, none will serve you too well onto the higher path of soul evolution. So once you have gained control over the mind and you have embraced the Sigma role, the next stage, in my opinion, is the higher Sigma stage. The higher Sigma stage is the inner sword we have discussed in many shows, once you have cleared the throat chakra and opened up the heart. And I would suggest that is a 3-stage process as well, like the lower Sigma mentioned in the previous Blueprint show. But with the control taken back of the mind from the MK Ultra programming and subversive practices designed to get you to conform to lunacy, you are well on your way to self-identifying yourself. No longer are thoughts not your own, and even if they aren't yours, you have more awareness of who and what you are to deny consent to them. The mind is an electromagnetic receiver via the senses, using vibration, ears and eyes to deliver the data your way. But you have forgotten to filter it. Where is your firewall protecting it and you? And so they deliver the sermons of evil all day, every day, until you learn to identify the self and then protect it. Now the next stage of that is to open the throat chakra, and many of us in the alternative media have been shut down vocally by the children who are frightened of the truth. And yes, most adults are children, terrified of veering from the lie and the dark forces narrative, wearing their slave suits proudly because they have been good little citizens in servitude to their fake saviours. But the next stage is to open the heart. It is not as easy as people think, as hearts in many people have been closed, not by all men are bastards or that all women are bitches, but by yourselves. Why? Fear. Always fear. The heart doesn't do fear, only love. Fear comes from the mind. Truly opening the heart is not dependent upon having a partner. It is about you developing it with or without a partner. It is your heart and soul package. It is for you to protect it, ultimately with the sword, but also with the ways you operate. The truly open heart does not deal in ego, fear, lying to the self, lies in general, as the truth must prevail. And this, when mastered, leads to better discernment, because it will tell you the problem if you will listen. Discernment in the mindset is a 50-50 lottery game, depending upon which hemisphere is operating in the higher range at that moment in time. The heart will still tell you the problems, but the mindset person will always tend to overrule it. But once this stage is completed, you are now on the path to the higher sigma, the divine masculine or feminine, and onto the mental planes towards the path of the gods. To sustain that, you need other traits, most of which will fit in with the sigma lower and higher stages. Truth, personal responsibility, higher love frequency, staying in a high vibrational range, no low vibrational traits, and be 51% or more service to others. And that figure of service to others goes higher as you climb the mental planes. No warlike alphas or betas, timid little me and limitation people on those stages. Those traits and characteristics have to be discarded. The conveyor belt of linear time flatlined, and we have to develop more people to inflate their balloons to rise onto vertical time. We have failed to produce none or hardly any developed beings on this planet for a long time, and that has to change. But you have to change to develop you and create the higher evolved beings pathway this planet deserves. We need more sigmas, as the other two are fake or weak. Alpha and beta are mindset people, when we require heart-centered sigma people. We need more divine masculine and feminine to chart the path to a brighter future, not only for the individual themselves, goddesses that hopefully go on to learn the failures of the past and vow to never repeat them again. We need more sigmas to raise the vibration, to anchor the frequencies and show the way. Ultimately, that all comes down to you and your efforts. Don't say you are a sigma, just be it. The sigmas are the meek, and the meek shall inherit the earth. How long that takes depends on all of you developing the self and then going on teaching others how. The great question you will ask is, but how can we do that? I've just shown you again. And the final song is always a reminder, it can't get any simpler. Just follow the heart.